This is TNC Movie Nights. Sometimes it's really difficult to take you seriously. We have a much more technical show for all of you today. This is kind of back with the foreshadowing episode where we take a deeper dive into different aspects of movie making and movie things that when you're watching movies, someone like myself, you just kind of let it just go over your head and like, cool, that's a movie, and you don't, go a little bit more into it. So we're talking about movie endings today. Alex, if you want to go ahead and give a little brief description of what that means for today's show.
Yeah, sure. So it sounds very straightforward, like it's the end of a movie. You end movies with the ending. But there's a lot of different ways to do that, and it's a little bit more in-depth than just like happy, sad, or question mark. It's not just the good guy wins, it's not just the bad guy wins, or ambiguous sort of ending. And so I thought about looking at just a few different ways you can end, not just movies, but stories in general. Same with like the foreshadowing thing. They're not movie specific, but stories in general. And so a way to sort of break that down a little bit. So if you are creating something, and this gives you a different way to end it than just good, bad, or other.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So again, it's a little exciting on that kind of fact to kind of push myself to think a little bit more when it comes to movie topics. So I'm going to go ahead and let you lead this episode though, since again, this is a little bit more of your wheelhouse.
Sure, brother.
And we'll go from there.
So the first ending is a very obvious one. And this, I say first, there's a little bit of a list we have. This isn't the only way to end it. This isn't like this is the Bible of ending movies. It's just a few different ways to do it. So we're still just two idiots talking about stuff online. You don't have to take our word as gospel. But one way to end a movie or a story is by ending it. It sounds very straightforward, but it's not always done that way. So that is to say the whole story has been resolved. The ending is the end. There's no sequel. There are no questions. There are no question marks. This story had a beginning, a middle, and end. You stand up, you leave, and it's over. That's not a bad thing. There's some of the best movies ever. They were just one story, and that's it. Think of your favorite movie that doesn't have a sequel. Might be this way. And so that's just a way for you to tell a singular story of this one thing that happened, and now it's over. And then the flip side of that would be an unresolved ending, believe it or not. And that is the exact opposite. And that's something where you leave that open to interpretation, or you leave it open to a sequel. It's not quite the same, and we'll break these down a little bit as like open-ended or ambiguous endings, but it's just a way to leave a little bit more. Think of every single superhero that has ever had a movie about them, except maybe Logan. That was pretty much ended. But this is something that Brandon, I know you're familiar with, and so just like just pick Spider-Man, all of the Spider-Man movies have left you thinking, wow, that was a whole story, but I'm not going to be surprised when the sequel comes out, because there's always more story to tell. And there's always more to go on. And there's always more that you can leave. You leave the story like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Remember when the Sinister Six came out at the end, and now we're going to have to wait for another franchise to be rebooted?
Damn.
Sorry, I went there. It's happened. It's going to happen again. I hope not. But that all comes down to the endings. And that was what we were talking about before. Gotta actually have an end to your movie. You gotta tell the whole story. Movie can't be a movie without an end. Kick it to you. We already did the angry episode. I'm over that. So these are just the two basic, resolved and unresolved. So what are some of your favorites in either of those, Sean?
So when it comes to movies that are resolved endings, that they don't get a sequel, and when the movie ends, I'm like, oh man, I really hope there's another one because it was so good. And then I kind of think about it a little bit more, and I'm like, that ended really well. It doesn't need anything else. Kind of want a little bit of throwback with Sky High.
I love that movie. It's so awful.
What?
In the good way. In a good way.
Okay.
In a good way. In the best way possible.
Yeah, I can appreciate that it's like a Disney movie, but
Yeah.
it's fun. It is really fun. I think that's a pretty good example. There is a very hard ending. And, you do kind of think at the end, like, oh, maybe they'll jump 15, 20 years. Like, they can make a sequel for that movie now, not when it was made then, because now you could see them as adults and stuff. But, again, ends, and there's really no questions being left. I'm trying to think of some other ones that were jumping at me for, like, good just endings.
I mean, it's pretty much anything that ends with either happily ever after or crappily ever after. It doesn't have to be a happy ending. It can be a sad one. It could be the bad guy wins. But that's it. It's just like, well, the good guy won. Goodbye. Or the bad guy won. Goodbye. But that's any sort of like ever after, and then it's done.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. Now, I'm just kind of curious to bounce off this idea. Are there any movies that got a sequel that you wish would have just ended with the first one because you thought it was like, that's wonderful?
Oh my God. Countless. I mean, we've talked about some on this show even. I mentioned one in the review. One of the first one that came to mind is The Equalizer. I wrote about this in the Fury Film review, is that The Equalizer 2 came out and it was wholly unnecessary. The first story was enough and you didn't need to continue it. I don't even remember if they teased a sequel at the end of it, but if they did, they didn't need to, and if they didn't, it was for a reason. That was just like one story and it's over. Done. It's tough when it works though, because sometimes you have a movie that doesn't need a sequel and it gets one anyway, and sometimes more, and it ends up being, either for better or worse, successful. Movie I'm thinking of is Die Hard. Didn't need any sequels. It was a whole ass story. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. Happily ever after, roll credits. And then a couple years later they were like, but what if he was in an airport? And then they were like, all right, I guess he's in an airport now. And then it kind of worked critically. Box office anyway. Then they did it again, and then again, and again. And I actually like the third one, so I'm not going to dog that one. But it was like, here's a whole story. It's done. It's over. Wait a minute. We made money. Let's do it again in an airport. Let's do it again with his brother. Let's do it again with his son. Let's do it again with his daughter. You're just like, chill. You're done. You don't need this. How about you?
The one that jumps right off for me is Zombieland 2. Love Zombieland. It's one of my favorite kind of comedy action movies, and I really enjoy it. I love the whole cast. And, for a long time, I really did want a sequel because I just loved the movie so much and I just wanted more. But the second one, it just kind of tried to reuse some of the jokes, and I guess the big thing that worked for the first Zombieland so much, it was just so like self-aware, and it was a lot of pop culture references at times, from the nerdy kid drinking Mountain Dew and playing World of Warcraft, and just some of the other little things that were said in the movie. And they tried just to repeat that again. Same premise, same characters. There's just a little different tones in it here and there. And as much as I hate to say, I was really upset walking out of Zombieland 2. It's not a terrible movie, but it's not a good movie. It's a very okay movie at best. And it did kind of taint the franchise a little bit. Well, just the first movie a little bit with the sequel.
Yeah, it's kind of really, really awful. Outside of a couple really funny lines from Madison, it was awful. Like when they took their guns, and then she was like, "Get the guns." Or like, they took our guns, and she was like, "What?" Genuinely laughed out loud. That was so funny, and I remember that because that movie was unsavable. And then that happened, and I was like, God, that's funny, though. But yeah, that's a perfect example of, you don't need a sequel. You told a whole story. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it was over, and then you did it anyway. Which is actually a really good point, that sometimes even when you have those resolved real endings, they still screw it up and they still give you another movie anyway. Instead of keeping it kind of an unresolved ending and then allowing that to come, it's totally manufactured, but it feels more natural instead of just like 4 years later, but wait, there's more. You know,
I do kind
of
of
brought up the Spider-Man.
no, yeah, I totally agree there. And one movie I can really appreciate, it's not a movie we bring up a lot, and that's Inception. It's a movie that easily could have done a sequel with, because they could have just played with that idea a lot. They didn't have to even bring back the characters if they didn't want to, and they haven't, and hopefully they don't. But that is one of those movies you're left wanting more, and I can really appreciate that they haven't given us more, because that would possibly just ruin the first one.
That's actually a perfect segue into some other types of endings that we briefly mentioned before. And those are the open-ended / ambiguous endings. And I'm clumping these two together, but distinguishing between the two because they are very similar, but they are not the same. So the ambiguous ending that you can have is sort of what everyone thinks of, especially when you're talking about Inception. It's, how does this movie end? It seems like the movie ended before the ending, but that was done on purpose. And it's that exact sort of like, did the top fall? Is it a dream? Is it not a dream? I don't know. You leave the theater, or if you didn't see it in the theater, you just sit in your couch, think about it. But there's more to it after that. You go, oh my God, what happened? What's going to happen? Inception's a great example. American Psycho is another one. Not super fond of the movie itself, but that's one of those where at the ending you go, what actually happened, though? This movie ended before the ending. Whereas an open-ended ending is a little bit different. It's more like this story is over, or this part of the story is over, but the whole story isn't over yet. It's like, we finished the battle, but what about the war? And so some of that, it could be like No Country for Old Men is a good example of that. I love that movie. And the ending is very much the end of that story. We saw all of those characters have a complete story arc. We saw the whole introduction, the rising action, the falling action, the resolution. We got the whole story, but there's still more stuff that happens afterwards. This is kind of in that same ballpark of the unresolved ending, but it has a little bit of that specificity to it of like battle, war. So you already mentioned Inception, but I gotta ask, and stalling to give you time to think if you need some, what are some of your favorite like ambiguous or open-ended movies?
So, I mean, just to confirm, for the open-ended, that's going to be it. But I say they are kind of muddy at times between the two, but that's going to be more
Definitely.
of the, as we mentioned before the show, kind of the Marvel movies, Harry Potter movies, where, yes, no, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I thought you had more.
Oh, okay.
But
No,
yeah,
yeah, sorry.
that's like, this story is over. We are done talking about the Chamber of Secrets. But they still got to go back to school. This is like, we beat Electro, but the Green Goblin is still out there getting the Sinister Six ready. And it's that sort of thing. And then the open-endedness, it doesn't always have to lead into a sequel, which is why I sort of broke that off from the unresolved, because you do have something like No Country for Old Men, where it's, you could argue it's an ambiguous ending, but also it's like the story was told. There wasn't a big question mark at the end. It's not the end question mark. It's the end, but what happens next? Whereas an ambiguous ending is more the end question mark. Did the top fall? Is it a dream? Total Recall. Is it a simulation? The Thing. Is he the Thing? And then you have those sort of ambiguous endings of like, oh my god, what happens? All the ones where all the fan fictions of there. It's like, oh well, the top wobbled, which means this, or oh, it doesn't matter because this. He handed him the bottle, which was actually gasoline, so that way if he drank it, he knew he was the thing. All of those like fan fictiony moments are
Yeah.
usually from ambiguous endings because it ends in a question mark. Because people so want the question to be answered. Whereas the open-ended, there's no immediate question, but there's still a universe around this story that hasn't been resolved.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy for me then. I mean, it's one of my top 5 favorite movies, but Infinity War. It ends with them losing. I mean, it ends. I mean, they lose to Thanos. 50% of the population's gone, but there's still there's going to be another movie because being Marvel, we're going to resolve this. So that, and then another one, Empire Strikes Back, with Luke losing to Darth Vader, and again, that's just another end because I think they even jump a few more years later, and then go from there. So those are 2 of my definite big ones. Again, staying on the nerdy side.
Of course, those are really good ones too. One that I saw a lot when we were doing some research for this episode is the Rocky movies got brought up a lot because, like, the first one has something that we'll get into shortly, and that's maybe not necessarily a twist, but an unexpected or a twist ending. And then you have the whole Rocky verse of, now there's the Rocky and Creed verse. You have a bunch of movies that maybe that story ended, but we still know these characters. Their lives didn't end. There's still more story to tell other than just Rocky versus Clubber Lang. It's like, okay, there's more to it than this. So that was some that came up a lot. But yeah, those great examples of those. Any franchise basically, and you can find something with an unresolved ending or an open-ended ending. And then the ambiguous ones, those are fun, man, because that's when you can kind of go a little bit crazy. That's the one that maybe you shouldn't watch if you're 3 days into a Netflix bender and you're just sitting there in the dark with a blanket and like a really old drink on the side of the table that you really shouldn't be drinking because it's been out for like 3 days, but you do it anyway because it's the only thing within reach, and you're just kind of tweaking a little bit, and then you watch this movie and you go, I must know the ending. And then you get online and you write 40 pages of fan fiction, and then people lose their freaking minds. Those are fun. I'm not saying I've done that. I'm not saying I haven't. So those are always really fun. But as I just mentioned with the Rockies, another big way to end it is with a twist. And these, again, are a little bit different. This one's probably the most self-explanatory. I mean, we're all people. We've all seen a movie or read a story or been told a story with a twist ending. And we even mentioned this when we were talking about red herrings in our foreshadowing episode. This is something that's, you're like, okay, I think I got it. I think I know how this is going to end. And then right at the end, smack, holy crap, what a twist. That's not what I expected. So, mention Rocky, it's not the twistiest of twists, but the fact that he loses the fight because it's so set up to be this, underdog, come from behind. Wait, he lost? Psycho, not American Psycho, but the Psycho, that's a great one with a twist ending where you're like, oh, this poor guy, and he's got this crazy mom. Holy crap, she's really dead. He's pretending to be her. He's the crazy one. Every sort of suspense thriller that's ended like that can fall under this twist ending. Any sort of like murder mystery, whodunit, perfect example. I'll let you talk about it. You're talking too much this episode.
No, you're fine. And that's I was expecting that because again, this is more of your wheelhouse, so I have no problem with you taking the reins with this one. I did, of course, already bring up 2 other ones, as mentioned, that work as well. I mean, Empire Strikes Back. Don't probably expect for Vader to win. Twist there.
And how about the I'm your father? That's a pretty big twist.
Yeah, exactly. And then Infinity War, Thanos winning and who was actually taken in the snap. And then another one I was going to bring up for us was Knives Out.
That's the one.
Yep, as soon as you said the murder mysteries, I grinned and I knew you were going to toss it over to me. So that one does a fantastic job of leading you all the way with the film, and then last 10 minutes is just flipped and everything changes. So those are definitely some of my favorites. How about yourself?
Yeah, man, I'm a sucker for some like suspense thrillers, and some of my favorite moments when I'm watching a movie are when things like catch me off guard. That's my favorite type of humor too, because I've seen a lot of TV, I've seen a lot of movies, and everything kind of tends to follow the same rhythm. That's why I'm such a stickler for like lazy writing,
Yeah.
is because it's been done before. Everything follows. It's like half the time when you watch just like a crappy Netflix comedy, you can literally watch the cycle happen of setup, punchline. You're like, bah, 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 bah. There it is. And you know that it's happening. And so your brain processes it, but it's not surprised by anything. It might work. It might technically be funny. It might technically be a good story. It might technically be a twist. But you saw it coming. It's not going to surprise you. It's not going to catch you off guard. And so that's why I really, really respect movies that do that. I respect those comedies that set you up that way and then kind of right hook you with a different joke. And you're like, here it comes. Oh my God, that's hilarious. I did not see that coming. And same thing with the endings where it's, you know, it's been done 1,000 times since, but when Psycho first came out, 35 years before we were born, that wasn't the norm. It was, this is the story. And then everyone watching that movie is like, yeah, this guy has, you know, by the end of it, you're like, man, this guy's mom is really, really crazy. She's killing people, and this poor guy. And then when that chair spins, oh my God, I cannot believe that wait, what? That sort of stuff. So I love anything that surprises me like that. Anything with that crazy, crazy twist at the end. You're just like, no idea that was happening. So these are the ones you can get kind of fun with, but they're also the ones where if it is predictable, it just doesn't work. Look at M. Night Shyamalan. Look at the last 20 years of his career. Everything, whether you saw it coming or not, because he got to a point where he just started throwing some crap out there just to try to surprise you, where you're just like watching Split and you're like, wow, this is actually a pretty decent film. James McAvoy should win like 27 Oscars for all the different personalities he had to do. I don't know if that was the exact number, but it was 20 something. And then he's like, it's the same universe as your Unbreakable. And you're like, why? That's stupid. Who cares? You just wanted to make another movie. So it's that sort of stuff where you either go, yeah, I know. I saw this coming like an hour and a half ago. Or when you're like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's just stupid. You're trying way too hard. So, stuff like that. This is one of the easiest ones to fall into that trap of just poor writing. Whereas the other ones, you know, you can do a happily ever after 1,000 different ways and people are still going to be happy about it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I do have two more I was going to throw on there for you. One of them, spoiler alert for it, but Spider-Man Homecoming, the way it ends with Mysterio posting the video.
What a twist that was!
Oh, and I'm still so excited to see where they take that, because right now Spider-Man's public enemy number one. So really excited to see where that goes.
Dude. That was one where you're in the theater and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What just happened? They just did that. They just did that. Holy crap. And that's actually a great example to show that you don't have to pigeonhole yourself into just one of these.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of them don't work. You can't have a resolved and an unresolved ending. But you can leave things open-ended and a twist. You can be, you know, unresolved and ambiguous. You can open yourself up to a sequel by ending with a question mark. You can open yourself up to a sequel by ending with a twist, and that is a perfect example. So thank you for bringing that up.
No problem. I have one more I was going to throw on here, because as I asked you the question earlier, a movie that didn't need a sequel that got one that was kind of upsetting is a movie that does the twist very well, and that's Now You See Me, I thought. With the FBI agent actually in the know of everything at the end of it. Great movie. What is it with Jesse Eisenberg movies getting sequels that don't need to be made? I'm waiting for Social Network 2 with Jesse Eisenberg. I feel like there actually was a Social Network 2. I need to check now.
Genuinely wouldn't surprise me. And it's all about the downfall of MySpace.
Yeah. Okay, no. Looks like there was not. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
That would be really funny.
That's a great example because that twist at the end. Now You See Me, the first one, is a really solid flick.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. The second one was so stupid.
I can't even remember anything from the second movie, and I've seen it 2 or 3 times.
There's that stupid scene in the vault when they're all like chucking the card back and forth, because that's the best way to trick a security guard. Not maybe have the best person at the sleight of hand stuff. Let's just throw it to everyone as they're being checked. You know how they just checked me and I'm clear and I'm good and I'm done being checked? Let me chuck it to the person to my right who's not done being checked. Let's give it to that guy so he can do some dumb magic crap. And I love magic. But some dumb crap to get it. It's like, that's just so stupid. Quit being illogical. First one was awesome. Because I don't want this to turn into a review of these movies, but it made you think, like, there's no way it's going to get done. And then it makes you think, oh my God, no, wait, it could. And then the other one was the opposite. It was like, this is possible, I think. And they're going to do it in an impossible way. It just shows this subtle difference. But yeah, definitely a movie that did not need a sequel. At all.
Go ahead.
I forgot. There's a fifth option to endings, and that's not to end it because you didn't start it, because it's not a movie, Doolittle. You're not a movie.
That is a perfect segue.
I'm sorry.
That is the perfect segue to announce.
Oh my God, what are we? Y'all better subscribe or comment or something, man, because what I'm about to do for y'all. Tell the people, Brandon.
So, as you all probably remember, last month we did Revenge of the Sith watch party review. Just break down the whole movie. We watched it together live, recorded it while watching it, talking over. And
good buddy Mike there.
Yeah, our buddy Mike was there with us, and we know what we're doing to start November. The episode will come out November 1st, but we're going to watch Doolittle. It's perfect fit. I'm very excited to see you watch this movie.
You know how that last episode, when you made me feel better by saying,
you'll never have to watch
it again. You'll never have to watch it again.
I knew when I said
and now
that.
Here we are.
I knew when I said that. We were going to do this episode.
We're watching Elf next month.
Yeah, we are.
We're watching Elf.
Yeah, we are. And I'm gonna have a hard
You'll
time.
See. You'll see.
I just
you
love
haven't seen Doolittle yet, have you?
I have not. I am so
You're
excited.
For a treat.
I'm so excited.
It actually makes me so happy because misery loves company.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting over here just by myself, super pissed off about this stupid non-movie. And so I'm so happy that you will get to see why this movie is the worst. Because you've heard me say it over and over. Not only that this movie is the worst movie ever made, but that it's not even a movie. And then I almost gave myself an aneurysm last week telling you exactly why those things are true. But now you'll get to see it in real time because this is what we do now. For you. This is for you. All of you that watch. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mike. Hi, Eddie. All of you guys, this is for you.
Oh my goodness, I'm excited, but I'm not excited for Elf. That's gonna be a rough time, but I'm very excited for Doolittle.
Oh, you poor baby.
Oh, I know. We're both gonna watch our least favorite movies back to back in the months, and it's gonna be a fun time.
It will be though. Yeah. It'll be fun because it's fun. We're having fun.
So we already talked about what we're doing next week, but for this week's review that you'll be seeing on Saturday when this drops on Wednesday, we'll be watching a recommended movie from our friend Heather. It's called Your Name. It is an anime film. So I don't know what your exposure to anime is. So I'm kind of curious what that's going to be like for you. I've gotten very into anime the last 2-3 years myself. I believe I have found an English dub for it, so we don't have to worry about subtitles to make it even more difficult for you. But
either way, man.
Okay, cool.
I can't read?
Well, I was going to say just getting used to anime and then also doing the subtitles in anime, and then just a movie that is very different for us. I mean, it's like a
True.
It's called Slice of Life is what it is, and that's kind of like an anime that instead of it being about some character that a lot of animes is a character that's really weak turns like super powerful through the episodes. This is just a very normal real life type of anime. So I'm very curious. I have not seen it. The only person I know that has seen it is Heather, so I'm very excited to see what we think of it. I hope we're not too harsh on it. So,
but thank you for the recommendation, Heather, and we're looking forward to that. That opens it up to you guys too. If your favorite movie is out there and you want us to watch it and review it, let us know, and we might do that because we're bored and we do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, my history with anime is slim to none. I remember when I was like younger, I played some of the Naruto games, and then that made me watch some of the series. I'm a little familiar with some other series, but I'm open to it. Let's watch it. Let's see how this goes, man.
Yeah.
Subtitles or no subtitles.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And also to let all of you remember, we do have a sale. It is actually now going to be Friday and Saturday this week. We did move it to make it a little bit easier for the weekends. So that'll be October 23rd and October 24th, our biggest sale we've done. That is going to be 20% off. So if you want to go ahead and rep some of the merch, we got TNC Movie Nights. We have the Nerd Chambers. We also, of course, have TNC Penguin, TNC Otter, Commander, and You. And then just kind of our other basic logos in there as well. So definitely go ahead and take a peek. Hopefully you enjoy those. And Alex, where can the people find us?
Well, Brandon, we've talked about where the people can find us so many times. But we've gone one step further. We have helped the people find us. Just go to thenerdchambers.com. You'll see links to all of our social medias that we're still on. The Facebook, the Twitter, the TikTok, the Instagram, all of them. But you can find them all by going to thenerdchambers.com. And that one actually has a the. I didn't just throw it in because I'm an idiot. thenerdchambers.com, spreadshirt.com. You can find us there. Go check us out. Meet the team. See all this new stuff. We have so much stuff happening, especially like in the next week or so. Like, oh my God, lots of stuff. So go check us out.
All right. Awesome. It's going to be a very busy week and a half for the two of us. So very excited for that. And thank you all so much for the support.
I'm Alex. He's Brandon. See you guys. Buy our shirts.